there was a study that was done by a company called Nutrilite, and they were really trying to determine how much of the phytonutrient levels people were getting in their average diet. And they found that 8 out of 10 Americans don't eat enough colors. And that's probably true. If you look at the standard American diet, it's very monochrome. You see, French fries and white bread and, other types of things that are really just very bland colored and not a lot of other vibrant colors there. The colors are not only represent the some of the nutrients that are in there, but they also give them the disease fighting properties that fruits and vegetables have, and actually all plant foods. The prefix phyto, P-H-Y-T-O, is a Latin prefix for the word plant. And then of course the word nutrient is a food molecule. So the phytonutrient is found in plant foods, and that's all of our plant foods. That's going to be fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, and seeds. And so if we get enough of a variety of those different colors in our diet, we're kind of like covering our bases in a way. There's been a lot of different studies that have been done on certain foods. Like, for example, broccoli has been found to have a compound in it called sulforaphane, which is a known cancer fighter. It fights against breast cancer and prostate cancer. But those are the types of cancers it fights against, and it fights against cancers in a specific way within the body. But cancer can form in a variety of different ways in the body. It can either be from damaged cells, or it could happen as a result of toxins that like accumulate in certain cells. And so different nutrients in foods work on preventing cancer from a variety of different angles. Like, one might stop the toxin from getting to a cell in the first place. Another type of compound might, if the toxin got to a cell, it might stop it from doing any further damage. Some of our plant compounds actually kill cancer cells completely. So it's important to have the variety. So, it's like you can't just only eat broccoli and expect that that's going to cover all the bases that you might need your cancer fighting abilities for, or inflammation reducing, or all of the different areas where our health can go out of whack. So getting the different color groups. I also like this word down here, organoleptic. I always tell my students, learn that word and you'll impress your friends at parties. Organoleptic is the sort of like the sensory aspects of the foods. It's the tastes, it's the smell, it's the aroma, the aromas of the foods, the taste, the smell, and also their disease-fighting properties. So for example, garlic. Garlic is a really good example of a type of food that has a pretty distinguishable organoleptic property. It's some of its phytonutrients are what give it the distinct garlic aroma. In fact, garlic has the name, the stinking rose. I don't know if you've ever heard of that term being referred to with garlic, but it's called the stinking rose. One, because it is because of the way that it's shaped with its little cloves in there that might represent a rosebud. But the fact that, it has that very strong odor and very distinctive. There's like no other food that has that particular smell and or taste. So very unique compounds in the foods that give them their tastes and their colors. And then also one thing that's really interesting is some of the really bitter tasting foods, like for example, leafy greens tend to have a bitter flavor to them. But the more bitter, the more antioxidants they have. And antioxidants are basically they're needed in our body because just through the normal metabolic functions of our body, we create something called free radicals which free radicals are basically like little fragments of molecules that are usually like breakdown products of things that are happening within our body. And if they don't get dealt with fairly quickly, they can do damage to our cells. And so some of the free radicals that we come into contact with are just part of our normal biochemistry, and our body actually has internal, what we call endogenous antioxidants. We make them within our body, and then some we get from our foods. But the other thing to also consider is that in our modern times, we have other exposure, and we have other ways that we get exposed to free radicals, not just the ones that are being made within our body. Typically, we have enough of our own internal antioxidants to deal with those ones. But what about the other ones? The ones that, like, we're exposed to pollution. Like, pollution is a type of free radical. So it can damage our skin. It can damage, if we breathe it in, can damage our lungs. And then there's the foods, the food additives, the what we can call the food toxins. And a lot of the free radicals that we get exposed to in our body are coming in through our foods. And one type of food that's really damaging is cooking oils. Oils are like probably one of the most fragile things in nutrition, and it's the only thing that we continually damage every single time we eat it. It's kind of a backward way of doing things. If you do go back, looking at the role of food in the human story, you find that people really didn't press oils other than like olive oil, which is easy because the oils are so oily. I'm sorry, the olives are so oily that it's not that difficult to press an olive and get oil out of it. But it's not that easy to do that with certain seeds or certain nuts, or even something like soybeans or corn. It's not easy to get oil out of those. We figured out how to do that. We humans figured out how to do that with high pressure machinery to do that. It was never something our ancestors were able to do, and so they certainly didn't press oil out of foods and then use that oil to cook at a high heat with. What people did in the old days was sometimes they would render some of the animal fat that they used for their cooking, like if they were using beef, or they were using pork or other types of animal fats, they would save some of it and then use that, because that type of fat is actually more stable at higher heats and doesn't go bad and doesn't damage the cells in the way that those plant oils do. So the fact that we're getting exposed to so many free radicals just from the foods that we eat, we really need a lot of antioxidants, because what an antioxidant is it's kind of basically, it is the antidote to the free radical. A free radical is basically a fragment of a molecule that has lost an electron, and now it's going to try to steal an electron from something else. And if it's in your body, it's going to try to steal electrons from your healthy cells, from the cell membranes. And so that's what happens. It creates like a cascade effect within the body. And that's what leads to free radical damage, inflammation, could eventually end up being cancerous cells, and just overall leads to disease within the body. And so, the antioxidant then becomes very important. So the more antioxidants we eat, the more we have on hand to deal with any additional types of free radicals that we may come in contact with. And of course, I'm not saying we should go out and eat a bunch of fried foods and then just eat a bunch of greens along with it, but that's not a bad idea. Like, if you do have some fried food, you should probably have some salad with that. It's just your way of kind of mitigating some of the damage that can happen. So the antioxidants become extremely important for that purpose. And look at all the different color groups and the different areas of the body that they work in. This is something that's an ongoing area of study. We are, I think, in the infancy stages, really, of identifying all of the different plant compounds. I remember reading that an apple has something like, I don't know, over 100 different plant compounds in it. And we don't even know what they all do. They've been identified, like, through examination, but not, like we know there's something there, but we don't necessarily know exactly what it's doing. So it's an area of continuing research, but knowing that these antioxidants and other plant compounds are, they definitely have a role in the body, and the more of them we have, the better off we are. And we do know a lot of them. So, interestingly, the color groups tend to kind of have compounds that have similar activity in the body. So, for example, the purple ones, tend to be good for brain health. So we always say these are good brain foods, so the berries and the purple colored, eggplant and the onions and the grapes, these are all good for the brain, but then they're also full of like vitamin C, which is a great antioxidant. And so they're also good for overall body. And all, I just find it to be interesting. And that's why we try to get as many color groups in a particular day or week as possible. Sometimes when I'm asking my clients to keep track of what they're eating, I have them just, work off of a color chart rather than trying to keep track of portions and that type of thing. It just, maybe we're really wanting to focus more on the variety of the foods. And so just looking, how many greens did you get this week? How many blues did you get? How many reds? So that's really one of the great things about the vegetables and the fruits, is get all those colors. And then, we also have other foods that